to waken the dawn. And the Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserles, adds and says that this involves the concept of Shiviti Hashem L'negdi Tamid. I place Hashem before me at all times. I become aware that Hashem is the reality within which my life occurs. That He's the one who's making it happen. So it's a very basic concept for us. And that also, he brings a verse from Jeremiah in which he says, Ha'im yisater ish v'mistarim v'ani lo ar'enu ne'om Adonai. Can a man hide in the secret places and I won't see him, says God? Hashgacha is not a peeping Tom concept. He's not from the outside. He's the inside God. He sees us. Why? Not to trip us up, but to help us to be who we can be. So again, I would call it adjusting some screws and getting the proper concepts about at least the beginning of a conceptual understanding that allows me to relate to a God, like the joke goes, I don't believe in the God that you don't believe in either. Right? Of course the atheist doesn't believe in God because his concept of God is skewed. So we don't believe in that God either. So it's the adjustment that we need in order to come to a concept that approximates at least a little bit more what it is that we're talking about. So that's what this class is about. It's a little bit up there in that sense, but the thrust is always going to be, well, what impact does that have on my life, and what impact does that have on the way we live our lives, right? And it has a direct impact. So the first question is, what does it mean that God is one? Echad. God is one. And most people will say, well, He's one. What do you want from me? Because it's like, what are you supposed to do with that? Well, where is God? Well, He's... Okay, maybe we can even get them to say, He's everywhere. So that's already better. It's already better than thinking of God as somewhere out there, as somewhere else. And so the idea has to then sink in that the answer is provided by the Torah itself. Echad is only understandable in terms of another two verses. So we see this in the fourth paragraph on the first page. It's made even more explicit in another verse. You've been shown so that you could know. Ata hareta ladat. You've been shown so you could know that the infinite eternal one is the supreme being. Ein od min avado. There's no other. Ein od min avado. There's no other. No other. Milvado is an interesting word. Levad means alone, but milevado is a special construct word that means that there's nothing other than God, nothing other than Him. Milevado, other than Him. And then there's another verse that comes shortly after that, which is the Yadata Hayom ve'ashevata elav avecha. You shall know today and bring it into your heart that Hashem, the infinite eternal one, is Elohim, is the supreme being in the heavens above and on the earth below, Ein Od. So Ein Od, in a sense, goes deeper than Ein Od Milvado. In other words, it clears away even the possibility of other and just says there is nothing else. So that's, again, we're moving into an area here where most people don't want to tread. But in a sense, what drives me to do this? That I want to share what's most transformative, what changes us most. So it's like, don't stop here. Tell me where this leads. At least show me where it goes so I can be at home with it, and then I could make it a part of my life. If I always have a line beyond which I don't go, and I don't know what's on the other side, in a sense, I can understand that. But sometimes there's an opening. Sometimes there's an opening. Let me go beyond a little bit. Let me see what's there. And let me see if it really is so scary after all, or on the contrary, if it's really what I wanted the whole time. Or you want to say, instead of going beyond something here, I want to go beyond something that I haven't been able to go into in my own being. The Holy of Holies of my being is in my heart center. The Holy of Holies is where I meet God. Do I stop short? Am I afraid to go into that sacred room? Right? Just as is in the temple, there's the Holy of Holies. So there is here. It's not spatial. It's not only here, but it's inside. How do we get into that place? And is it there waiting for us to come in? And we're not going there. People talk about, is there Jewish meditation? Well, Jewish meditation is basically being in that place called the Holy of Holies. And we're going to see in a moment what the Baal Shem Tov does with this. And what I like to do with what the Baal Shem Tov did with it. And develop it somewhat so we can flesh it out, get a good idea of it, go beyond our boundaries, start to see how there's a fluid here, there's a fluidic movement here. So we can begin to deal with the concepts in a real way and take away the mystery or the mysticism about it, or that prevents us from really getting it. So basically, again, so simple, and it'll be yours when you leave here. I want you to really take this. Echad, ein od milvado, ein od. And could even go further to ein, but I don't have to go there now. So, third paragraph from the bottom, Echad tells us that God is one. But we still don't know what that means. He may be one somewhere far away. So we therefore have to know there's no other beside him. But even this is not sufficient. It could still just mean that there's no other being like him. We therefore need to know, no, there's nothing else. It's not just that there's no other being like him. Ein Od teaches us that God's unity refers not only to his rule, to his uniqueness of his oneness. It means that he is all there is. It means that what's going on is we're in God right now. And the rabbis go and they take us there. They're not satisfied with anything less than this. The rabbis in the Talmud, as we'll see in a moment, will see that that's where they wanted to live, in that consciousness. And that's really a great place to live from. That's a great place to generate my life from. Right? And when we get connected to that place in a real strong way, we can make a difference. So a little bit further, Ein Od teaches us the deepest meaning behind Echad. Grounded in Ein Od, God's oneness means that despite the evidence of all diversity and separateness, so in truth, all that actually exists is unity. There's nothing out there that intervenes between us and God. Even though we have this physical world, and we'll deal with that in a minute, but Jewish teachings tell us it's not what it seems, right? Which basically goes along with what science is telling us. It's just that scientists don't know exactly how to interpret and take all the way the information that they're getting. But science is the study of the depths of physical reality that leads beyond physical reality. Being in a shul, like in the old days they used to say, a shul is like a Clark Kent's phone booth. He goes into the shul, he takes off his, whatever, maybe his on his red, his Superman clothes, and he comes out with a cape on, which is our talis, right? A shul is where we connect to that inner level. And if we're not doing it, right, so my purpose of being here is to allow us to know how to take advantage of what a shul is, why that's there, what that means to us. So the problem is that when I write something, it's hard, what I want to do is read it to you. It's not here. I'm here to share something with you. So when I've written it down, and it's as clear as I can get it, in a sense that stops him from saying it. What I want to go is to the bottom of the page, the rest of it is for you to read, is the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, first of all, about this, of how to jump into a level of consciousness where we can actually experience this oneness. So we see a quote from the Maggid of Mezrich that begins at the bottom of the page.